Nick here from the Real Hero Show, here to talk to you about Dexter New Blood, Episode 3, entitled Smoke Signals. If you are new to the channel here and you'd like to help support us, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for free and hit the thumbs up to like this video. It really helps us out. And we're just going to dive straight in, full spoilers, so be warned. If you haven't yet watched this episode, I do suggest you go watch it first and then head on back over here and hear what I have to say. So the search continues for Matt Caldwell, and as the episode keeps going on, the search continues. More and more things get added. Dexter tries to find a solution, and he finally does as we get to the end of the episode. So to kind of fill in the gaps here, right, we get a guy from the CSI crime unit named Damien who turns out to be pretty good. He figures out most of the crime scene, and even we hear Dexter's inner monologue talking about things, about where things should be, that truth is in the blood, and he might be not too good, but good enough that Dexter will need to outsmart him. In the event of all things, we actually get a citizen activist by the name of Molly Park, who turns out to be a true crime podcaster, as we find out at dinner between Audrey, Angela, Dexter, or Jim, and Harrison. Of course, they bring in a canine unit, and again, where Dexter has to outsmart the entire police force in Iron Lake, he basically spends the entire night running around like a madman with Matt's blood or Matt's scent to throw off all the canines, which he successfully does apparently. And in the interim of things, he's trying to find a good location, and of course Deb's talking to him, the ghost of Deb's talking to him as well about what are you going to do. The lake is too shallow, right? So he's got to try and find another place, which he looks on a map and sees the Iron Mine. Seems like a good place. He goes on a hike. He enters the mine, almost falls in a deep pit, which he says, yeah, this will do. And then we hear and see a seemingly large black bear. So again, he's got to cross that off his list. So back to the drawing board for Dexter. It wasn't until the end of the episode, right, where when they're at dinner and Audrey wants to do something for the white buck that was killed by Matt, and do right for the Seneca tribe, and have a proper burial. And in the process of him standing and then being in the car with Harrison as they're about to leave, he says, I wish the rest of my problems would go up in smoke. And he goes, smoke, that's it. And then it cuts to a large smokestack and a giant furnace, which he throws the remains of Matt's body in. So it's, again, seemingly done. But the one thing I question is, what about the gun? Because he didn't throw the gun in there. He didn't mention the gun. So I wonder if he's going to try and plant the gun somewhere, and then that kind of comes up, and then it has Matt's fingerprints on it, right? Which it should also have Dexter's, because he gave it to him, but I don't know how long that would potentially last on the AR. So I wonder, again, how long it'll be until the whole search, the investigation is closed. Although, again, at the end, when Dexter is driving back into town, we see a drunken Kurt Caldwell, and he says he spoke with his son. We know his son's dead, in fact, burning, and in fact, that's the ash possibly falling on him right now. And he says he FaceTimed him. And even Dexter says, why is he lying? So what's the reasoning and the madness behind him lying about it? Was it a dream? Was it a fake out? Was it deep fake? Or is he just lying to see who reacts a certain way, and then in the event of kind of catching someone off guard, Kurt might have a better idea of who might be responsible or know something a bit more. Overall, I think that this arc, again, seems to be a little short, but it might not be over. So I think it could potentially keep going. But how long are you going to continue to drag out this this incident, because we're 3 episodes done, and there's 10 in the season, so we've got 7 to go. We really haven't even seen Dexter put any sort of interest into the killer for these missing girls. Now, the one thing I'll say is, and when he's in the car and Deb says, "What are you going to do with the body?" Right? And he goes, "I think the mind would be good long term." And she's like, "What do you mean long term?" And he's just like, "Oh, I don't want the parts to be found over time." Or did he actually mean that he might do it again? And if he does, it'll probably be like this killer, which I think they might be throwing us off again in this episode, because we see Edward Olsen, the billionaire, show his face around Audrey. Now, again, they could be tricking us into thinking it's him, or it's just too easily spelled out for us to know that it's definitely him, because the killer for the missing girls looks to be older, and at that point it's either Kurt Caldwell or Edward Olsen. Don't know yet for certain, but if I had to take a bet, I'd say it's Mr. Olsen. And the other part of this whole scene here, with the killer, and as to why Dexter will probably at the end of the season get this killer. Don't know how. We'll find out, right? But the girl that's in captivity, Jane Doe. I don't think we ever really get her name. We see the killer dressed up in a ski mask. He's got a rifle with a scope and a laser pointer on it, and he lets her escape, lets her run. And the song, I can't think of the name of the song. Run away, right? And as that's playing, she's running just straight down, just in a straight line, right? Which she doesn't know that someone's about to shoot her in the back, but nonetheless he does. It's a sick game, and Dexter hears the shot, right? He heard that shot echo, but he thinks someone's trying to hunt for some sort of game, even though there is a sick game being played by this killer. And I thought it was really weird too. Again, just overall sick, because then he cleans the body and then apparently does something with the blood, draining the blood. I'm not an expert as to what that method is called or what's essentially being done, but obviously it looks like something's going into the body, possibly cleansing the blood, and then the blood's going out into a bucket. I guess we'll find out too what this bucket of blood will consist of. And hopefully we continue to get more and more as the season progresses. The last part I want to cover is obviously pertaining to Harrison. He goes to school. Turns out he is super smart, because he has to take this placement test twice and does better on the second time. He's accused of cheating because he got it done in 15 minutes. Dexter doesn't support him like a father should. So obviously that pisses Harrison off even more, and the jocks, the cool kids, right, the bullies, they show Harrison that they're basically catfishing this poor guy Ethan, who's like a nerd, and at lunch Harrison goes over, right, sits down with Ethan and basically spoils the fun that these assholes are having. Says, "Hey, Zach's catfishing you. Your girlfriend's not real." And he's like, "Why are you telling me this? Why are you helping me?" And he says, because people like Zach don't deserve to, kind of be at the top of the food chain. And so he helps return the favor to Ethan. Or rather, he helps Ethan return the favor to Zach by sending this GIF of him performing some sort of bestiality, sodomy on an animal, and at which case all his buddies laugh, and then Zach runs over and is like, insults him and runs over, trying to harm Ethan, and then this part was pretty badass, I have to say, because Zach gets put in his place, immediately by Harrison choking, like just grabbing his throat and saying, I'll do this to you every single effing day if you try this shit again, right? And you just see like the fear and like the shock in Zach's eyes, and he lets him go because Audrey comes up, and then they leave. They're in the car. There's some banter between Harrison and Audrey about their fathers, their backstory. We learn a little bit more about Audrey and Harrison kind of being similar, because Audrey's mother abandoned her. Her birth mother abandoned her. Her father died when she was younger, but Angela took over to help care for Audrey. And the car breaks down, and of course, this is where Mr. Olson comes in. You just knew when that black SUV rolls up. I'm like, that looks something like a billionaire would drive. So he says, you need any help? Isn't it ironic that you drive this vehicle, and here you are stranded? And then he says, you can wait in my car and stay safe. When he leaves, I'm like, that just sounds like words from a killer. Not to say that when you tell someone to stay safe, that's bad per se, but coming from him and having a hunch of what we do know or possibly know just doesn't sit well, right? And that's just a creeper status, like, hey, you can sit in my car. Like, I bet that's what he wants. Sit in the car, then he drugs her, whatever, knocks her out, and then takes her home, and then does the same sort of normal routine with all these other girls that he's probably killed. But thankfully, she's got some balls and integrity and stands up for herself. And then Harrison's not too far away when he shows up. But yeah, things seem to be kicking off with Audrey and Harrison again, because that leads to them being at dinner, and then talking about the white buck and the burial with the Seneca tribe, and then a touching moment. We'll end the episode here on a touching moment between Dexter and Harrison, where Dexter says, here they are, these people are so close to each other, and I'm 10 feet away from my son, feeling like 1,000 miles. So he gets in the truck, says, I should have stuck up for you, I'm sorry, right? And then you can kind of see the look on and the emotion in Harrison's face, and says, like, yeah, you should, but he forgives him, right? In essence, he forgives him. And he says, thanks, Dad. For the first time, he kind of says it with sincerity. He says, thanks, Dad. And because he says, here I am, this is me now sticking up for you from now on. And he says, Dad, wow, that's my new favorite word. So it's like, again, because of the things that happened in Dexter's past, he essentially robbed himself of being able to raise Harrison, and to be a father. And now this is his chance, because even at the dinner table, he says he doesn't want to lose this this family he has here in Iron Lake, with his son Harrison, with Angela, and then Angela's adopted daughter Audrey. So hopefully it all works out for Dexter. And again, one last thing, we do hear the word Iris come up again, and I think at this point we know even further that Iris and Angela grew up together potentially, and again, knowing that she's part of the Seneca tribe. So I want to find out what that's all about as well, which I'm sure we will. I hope it's not too late, and hopefully by the time we do find out, there's a little bit more meaning behind it. So what do you guys think of this episode? I think it carries the pace of the first two episodes, so I think they're really right in line with everything. I'd say rating wise, it's probably somewhere between like a 7.5 to an 8 for me, just because of the growing parts of Harrison's character, learning more about him. We see another scene that just popped into my head of when he's FaceTiming Eth, and Eth is basically trying to be like the Punisher, right? And kind of shows these like messed up drawings of like him beating up and killing these, these bullies. And you can kind of just see Harrison is unaffected. And he says like they don't know true violence, and it's like, what has Harrison really seen in his past? Being only a teenager, right? So he's not affected by these messed up drawings, and he's kind of just, I don't know if I want to say he plays it off like, what are you supposed to be, the Punisher? Maybe. Again, we'll see Harrison battle those kids in the mat in wrestling. So I think it's safe to say we're going to see some actual violence between Harrison and those kids, and then I think that might draw out more story or backstory, because this altercation at school and Dexter asking Harrison like, what's happened, what's going on, what aren't you telling me, or I want to know, or just maybe it's kind of him trying to be a father and be like, you can tell me, and your secret's safe with me, sort of thing, if anything bad ever happened to him in the past. And again, I think we'll find out more throughout the story. So, and that's the reason why I think this is a pretty good comeback season for Dexter. There's a lot that actually is consistent so far, again, with these 3 episodes, and I think most of the characters are pretty interesting, and they've done a pretty good job about being straightforward, but also a little ambiguous. So leave your comments if you have any in the comment section below. We will always respond to the comments that are given to us. And until next time, I'll see you guys on the next video. Cheers and happy Thanksgiving. Peace.